Welcome to CR Conversations, hosted by Ryan and Christina Palma of CR Photos.
We're professional photographers who survived the unpredictable and grueling path that took us from rudimentary dreamers to fully self-employed business owners. From sleepless nights of editing to daring leaps of faith when quitting 9-to-5 jobs, we kept pushing for the dream to become reality, and we did it together every step of the way.
Amazingly enough, our marriage also survived that journey.
In our 15 plus years in the industry, we've acquired a wealth of information that goes far beyond camera settings and marketing do's and don'ts.
We've also piled up countless stories, affectionately called Uncle Bob stories.
We'll be leaking those one episode at a time.
Don't worry, names and places haven't changed to protect the guilty.
So welcome to CR Conversations. We hope you're ready to take a deep dive into life behind the lens and so much more.
Welcome back. Feels like it's been a minute.
Just for us, because we recorded a bunch at once and now we're back at it.
Yeah, I've missed it. I was anxious to get back here.
Sure you were not.
Yes, I was. I have a feeling today is going to be a banger.
Why is today going to be a banger?
I just hope you don't mess it up.
Oh
All right, without further ado, let's get into
Oh, see? You just ate your words and you messed it up a half a second in.
Well,
we're keeping that,
we're
Junior.
We're rolling with, hey, who edits this? I'll decide who keeps this.
Okay.
We are going to go with a question and answer,
Yep.
which I enjoy. I love these ones.
Yeah, I have kind of seen them, but hardly, just when I was like transferring them from the app to a notes document, but Ryan has not seen any of them. So what we're going to do is we're going to just read them one after the other. We will both answer our perspective unless the question doesn't really require that. Like if they say,
like how
Christina,
much makeup should you wear on your wedding day?
Right, like something like that. Then we will not take your advice on that.
I mean, I think I have a valid opinion. But
so how much makeup should a girl wear on her wedding day then?
You want to make sure you don't see the cake batter. Just a light frosting.
Oh my word.
Is that a good answer?
I mean, that's not bad. It is very similar. I have heard it likened to what is that called? Drywall compound, smoothing out all the holes and all the things and then putting a coat of paint on. Okay, without further ado, folks, let's actually get to your questions first.
End on that.
Oh, okay. The first question we have from a listener or just somebody who sent in a question.
An AI bot.
Is suggestions on how to practice and grow when you're new to an area. I don't know anyone and it's hard to get clients to practice on. This is a good question. I have an answer if you need to think about yours for a second.
I think it's the same as, when you start out anywhere. Just got to get out there and you got to shoot. And
well, I think networking is a big thing because if you just moved here and don't have anybody to shoot, you have to go to places to find those people. So go to coffee shops, put your stuff up on little boards, wherever you may go. Think of it not even necessarily as like a photography job, but just any sort of job. You have to go find people. So become a group, join a group, whether it be a book club or with this and start meeting people to get you connected to potential clients. But you're probably gonna have to work a lot harder, obviously, if you're just new to an area. And that could be very difficult if you are an introvert like I. But if you are like Ryan, he would say, just go hang out in a coffee shop, meet people, hang around people you want to be photographing.
At first, the sound of the question sounded like it was coming from like, where do I find places to shoot and stuff like that. But I would go back to my original statement where you just, get out and meet people. If you have any friends, bring your camera everywhere you go, get to know locations and stuff. And then, you're only going to find locations by either visiting them or getting them by word of mouth. And then. Yeah,
locations are, I guess, different than, actually people. But if this was more like framed for how do I find people to photograph? I'm new to an area. You got to go to where the people are, as Ariel once said. All right, you can cut that out and then you can just read.
No. I'm going to keep your bloopers in if we're keeping mine.
Okay, go ahead. Next one.
I offer, what you said? Question number offer. I offer free photo shoots and no one seems to be interested or take them seriously. Suggestions.
Well, If you ask the question, this might be a hard answer. If you are putting out a product for free and you are still getting no bites or anything from anyone, whether it's photography, anything, that would prompt me to do some inner thinking and say maybe what I'm offering is not something people want. So if you're shooting, maybe your editing style is not something somebody likes. Maybe your actual photos, you need to work on your technical things like focus, composition, something that people actually want to desire. Because if you're offering something for literally nothing and you're still not getting somebody's interest, the problem may lie with the product you're giving.
I could give a little different spin on it.
Okay.
I think that if you are not providing something that costs anything, people don't put a value on something that you haven't valued.
Mm-hmm.
So if they say, oh, I get this for free, they basically think, oh, it'll always be there. I could come back to this at a later date. Or also if you don't believe that it costs you something,
or that you're worth something,
they may not value it as well. Also, by putting a dollar amount on it, you are kind of held to a standard.
Yes.
If you don't put anything to it, it's like, well, I didn't charge them anything, so if I don't deliver, how could they be mad at me? And I think that's where a lot of original photographers or beginner photographers find themselves in. Yeah,
that's a great point that you made there too. You could literally, those are kind of two very different approaches, but I think both could be the issue. So I hope that you're able to receive that and, that maybe just working on what you're delivering and then maybe putting some sort of cost value so people actually take you a little bit more seriously. Sometimes things for free harm us in the end.
So I think everybody's got somewhere. I'm not trying to just be too nice, but like everybody's got somewhere. You may not be the best photographer in the area, and it might just be you have time to grow and learn, or perhaps your skill set is not going to always be the top tier, but you still have something to value. So we're always working towards knowing our value, even we are.
And don't be afraid to, put a price on that for sure. Because your time is worth something. It really is. All right. Next one. Are most of your inquiries word of mouth? Well, I will start by answering that if Ryan wants to add anything. Yes, a lot of our inquiries are word of mouth and other, clients who have been in weddings we've done or stuff like that. But we do get a fair amount of inquiries from good old social media. As much as we hate it, Instagram does bring the people to our door. So keep on keeping on.
Yeah. It is rare to go to a wedding or a shoot where we don't know.
Yeah. On Saturday, there was 4 brides of ours at the wedding, either doing hair, have been past brides, future brides. So it's like Ryan says, very rare that we do go to a place and there's not like, oh, we did this person's wedding. So,
you got to have a brand.
Yep.
And you got to have a beard. If you don't have the beard, the face, they all just blend together. So this beard.
Wow. So all the work we've put into everything for the last 16 years, it's literally all just the beard.
Where would it be without the beard?
It's all just the beard, guys. In all fairness,
all right,
we really took off when you had a beard.
Okay. So at least guys would be like, hey, I like that photographer. They're going to be like, he's the guy with the beard.
Oh my God. Moving on, folks. Moving on.
All right.
This is one right here.
How have you changed your shooting style over the years?
Oh, you can answer this first. I have an answer, but unless you need
big time. In the beginning, it was all in shadow. I say we would find shade, which we still do, but we use the shade to our advantages differently now than I did back then, or we both did back then. And then everything was very posed. Everything was very, guy, you stand here, lean against this, girl, come in and find your position. Everything, whether it was just a senior shoot, family shoot, couples, it was always really posed and
very rigid.
Yes. And so I would always see, I don't want to belabor this so you can get to your answer, but like I would always see their pictures of their work, and people would be laughing so much more and so much more. So much more energy and passion and personalities in photos. And I always thought, man, how am I going to emulate that by, posing somebody differently? And I always thought it was in that. And then actually I would say, took the lead on this. It was like, I would make people laugh. And then as we were all laughing together, I would put down my camera.
Yes, I will say.
And you were always like, that's when you got to shoot.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's like so many different directions we can go with this question because yeah, like as he said, I think, well, number one, you're talking about 16 years ago. So wedding photos in general were just very different. But even beyond the more pose and rigid stuff, just our style of how we document things is also very different in that we are not, there are moments where we are creating something, but more times than not, we are just capturing what's happening and adding a little bit of direction. And I think that is one thing that we do actually very well, and that we can capture the uniqueness of each couple while giving our own flair and style, because we don't try to put everyone in a tiny box. Yeah, there's prompts and things we do with everybody, but I think what makes each couple, each family, each wedding unique is that you kind of take a step back, and yes, you'll interfere, but you're documenting how those people are and their uniqueness. So that for sure on the wedding days has really changed even drastically in the last, 5 to 6 years. Even how we document a wedding day. Yes, there are curated parts of the day, but we do our best to like capture the uniqueness of each couple and kind of taking more, back in the day, it was called more candid photos. Now everyone tries to be super lofty, and I find myself even saying it.
Photojournalism.
A more editorial approach, But in all honesty, this is a little bunny trail. When people say like editorial, first of all, I think the majority of true editorial looking photos happen when editing. Editorial photos are extremely staged. When people are like, oh, I did this whole editorial shoot, it's like ridiculously staged. But I digress. So yes, our editing style of shooting has changed for sure since the beginning, but we try not to control so much of everything and just capture what's happening.
I've got kind of an existential question from conversations. If existential is not the right word, somehow I'll have to fix that in post. But
where's Caitlin when we need her?
Yes. Where's my dictionary? But had conversations with videographers from the last weekend and about what they're really passionate about shooting. And it happened to not be weddings, even though we met them at a wedding. They like to do controlled videos, like actually make movies and sets and stuff like that. Okay, so
more like production instead of film.
And so it made me wonder like how I would do as in that role. And I thought, it's a lot what directors do in movies and stuff they're just directing. They're trying to put somebody in a controlled environment and say, this is what our goal is, and kind of let them run.
Yeah, I think I would do very poorly at that, because that is the complete opposite style that I take when shooting. I mean, yes, you do direct, like I said, a little bit, but then that's why they have actors, because then you have to have someone perform exactly what your vision is.
But some directors are like those ones that control everything.
Yeah.
And then some are a little bit more free flowing and let
Yep. I don't know. Yeah, again, just different approach. And sometimes we do see that a lot with videographers on wedding days, and that sometimes we get annoyed with that, right? Because we're like, stop trying to create moments instead of capturing what's happening.
Yeah, it's tough. I think a wedding day is all about just capturing the day as it flows. All right. Am I asking now?
I think you are.
I practice with my camera often, but struggle with focus in fast-paced situations. I shoot on a
camera. A camera that we're not familiar with. So, any advice? What's your advice, right? Right, guy?
Should I just read it? ARMII.
We shoot Nikon, so I don't even know what this means. Mark II. Maybe they wrote it wrong. And if you're like Nikon or Sony people and you're like, wow, you idiots, don't even know what that camera is. Sorry.
Please
we are
forgive us for
Nikon
that.
snobs.
Anyways, any advice? Well, cameras are a tool. You do need to know how to use them. It is more important the person behind the camera. However, if you do not have a camera that could focus in fast-paced situations, then there's nothing you can do. We've talked about where I'm going. So if you want to.
Just going back to like the basics, like there are multiple times in a day that we will change the focus settings on our camera. For example, I prefer to shoot with my focus much differently than my other partner here. So there are multiple times where if he has my camera, blah, 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 I'm going through and changing. So maybe look through, like Ryan says, just knowing your equipment, look through all the different settings and stuff that are available at your fingertips. However, I don't know if that camera mentioned here, and again, sorry, is a mirrorless camera, but if you're still in a DSLR, the difference between a DSLR and a mirrorless camera is completely night and day. And the biggest improvement is the fast focusing. Like the things that our cameras can do, there's no way our DSLR could do. So,
that's just God's honest truth right there.
So know your machine. Look up, this is my like go-to thing. If you're having issues, Calibration, maybe another thing. You might need to calibrate your lenses. We've done that in the past as well. Like, go on YouTube, figure out how to calibrate your own camera and your lenses. That could be a very easy and simple solution, but knowing your stuff. And then when all else fails, like hop on YouTube, search, like go through and Google these things you're having issues with. There are so many people who have probably had the same issues. Like, don't be afraid to just look up how to fix it. It might be like a simple thing, or, you just made to save and invest in the next best camera.
Yeah. And I will say that, you mentioned how you pick up my camera after we switch from a camera and we have different settings and stuff. Throughout the course of a day, throughout the course of a shoot, I have most certainly changed my focal settings multiple times.
Yes,
like what
me
I'm
too.
based on the situation, what I'm using, single focus or continuous focus. I mean,
yeah, this is funny.
So it's funny. You had it on single focus the other day
Yeah.
when I started, when I took the camera to be at the front of the aisle. And of course, at the front of the aisle, people are walking towards you. So it's very important that you have it on continuous focus. And I fortunately realized that I had two cameras up there. So it didn't take me long to realize that one of them was out of a setting that I usually change it to before that even starts. However, that was something that is a good thing I found that out before the bride walked down the aisle.
Yeah. So again, just different times throughout, maybe if you're doing a wedding where you want different types of focusing. I almost never use continuous focus. Like I just, my preference
That's wild.
is to do single focus. And that's just how I like to shoot. There are certain times when I do, but again, just knowing your options and figuring out what works best for you in each situation will be the best advice we can give. All right, next one. How do you make working together so enjoyable? Who said it was enjoyable?
Oh, come on. You took my line. Oh, I was just waiting to use that one.
Sorry, buddy. What does they say? Fake it till you make it? No, just kidding. He's just nodding here. How do we make, I won't say full credit to Ryan here. He is the one who makes everything fun and enjoyable because I am just a single focused, work driven, stop the shenanigans, we have work to do sort of person, while he is simultaneously giving me a slap on the butt as I walk away from people on a wedding day.
My silence says it all. Let's just move on. We do enjoy it, right?
Yes, we do.
I don't think we could have done it this long if we didn't enjoy it.
Yes, there's no doubt. But we definitely have our moments. And I think that not taking ourselves too seriously and also enjoying the fact that it's sort of like a date with a lot of stress. At least from my perspective when we're shooting weddings.
That is well said.
Yeah. What's the next one?
What do you use to get those cool light fractions in some of your photos?
I shall let you answer this, babe, since these are all yours.
This is so awesome. My crystals. My
As
magic crystals.
They're not crystals.
They're my prisms. They're awesome. I love them. And I like that I pretty much am the only one that use them because I think you're too busy doing all the other stuff, which gives me the ability to sit back behind you, pull them out and be creative with them. So basically they're just light prisms. They're different shaped pieces of crystal glass.
They kind of look like, what are those knuckles that people use?
No, these ones do.
Yeah.
Like, they look like brass
They
knuckles.
have handles.
And it's funny. The things we get asked the most on a wedding day is, where did Christina get those clothes? Now it's, where do I get my clothes?
Yeah, when I saw Ryan's clothes, because I got him a whole new wardrobe, guys.
And what is that cool glass thing you keep holding up in front of the camera? And now photographers have been doing stuff like this for a long time. You'll even see some people bringing stockings that they are putting over their lens at the end of the lens. I've even seen like a ripped plastic bag.
Yeah, which I have to say, like, everyone's going to be angry because I know the stocking thing is just all the rave, but I'm just not a fan of that.
Well, I think the photo, I mean, you shoot through a veil, which is kind of the same thing, or shoot through a curtain. It's just, it does look kind of funny on a wedding day. But
in our opinion, in our humble opinion. Some people may think the same thing about our lenses.
Yeah. So I would,
your prisms.
I would just, I would just
We'll
get
put
used
a link
to
to the prisms on this episode in
idea.
the show notes.
Good
because
idea.
we do get asked that often. At least we do on a wedding day.
But they are fun. They just, they're tough to control and they're only good in the right settings, the right situations. But they add
a little element. And like he said, I'll be shooting kind of like quote unquote normal photos and he'll use that. And it just adds like another little element of creativity to some photos in the gallery, which I love, especially during the dancing photos.
Yeah, I'm glad to know that some other people do too.
Okay, next question. I'm struggling with social media. Welcome to the club, everybody. This listener says, I feel like everyone around me is shooting 100 times better than me, and I constantly leave my apps feeling defeated. How do I balance using social media to grow my business without losing my passion? Well, I think that. What are you doing?
It's good that you are on social media a lot more than me because I would feel defeated myself.
Oh, okay.
So,
we've talked about this a lot in other episodes as well. Social media is a love-hate relationship for me because I could have written that myself. There's so much content out there, Pinterest, TikTok, social media, all the things. And there are so many creative people, wonderful photographers. I said photographers.
Yeah, I was just going to say you've digressed.
Sorry. I said there are wonderful photographers, not photographers.
Photographers.
That you can very easily go from feeling like you said, wow, I can't ever enter this industry. I think that, again, our advice in a previous episode was do what you need to do on social media and then get off of it. Like I have put a time limit on my social media, which I have actually been pretty good on. I do an hour of time every day between YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And it's very rare that I go over that now. Because from my perspective, I need to be posting on social media because as we said earlier, we do get business from there. So you have to be present on there. But hanging out there too long can, even myself, who's been doing this for however long, and I know that we have a good product and we have established business, I can start to go into that hole as well. So I think putting parameters around it and not feeling guilty about that. And I think you're ahead of the game by recognizing this is bothering you mentally. And I think anything that is bothering you mentally, you need to reprioritize and really put some parameters around what is healthy for you and then build it from there. If you're feeling you need inspiration, you don't have to go to social media for that. Like go to a magazine store, get a magazine, like go to Pinterest instead of social media. At least the people you're seeing on Pinterest aren't people in your community or your neighborhood who you're feeling threatened by. And I think just be mature about your social interactions. Like there's a lot of competitiveness with photographers. And I think a lot of juvenile behavior can come out of people feeling threatened. And unfortunately, I do see that on social media a lot. And I think remove yourself from those situations and take like the higher path and just know what you personally can handle.
Yes. I know there's a famous musician that does not even listen to other people's music. And he does it intentionally, at least not in his genre, because he doesn't want to know what everybody else is doing.
Okay.
He wants to be original. I know people can't do that in our line of work. However, his point was that like if people keep coming back to pay for his music, keep coming to his concerts, keep, telling him that he's, wonderful by accepting what he's putting out there. He doesn't need the, comparison of everybody else. Yeah. And he doesn't need to, even feed that because he'll start to go
maybe sway in that direction or that's a great point. And kind of what we were saying, like there have been times in my life when I have had to, mute other people or whatever, just for my own mental sanity. And because you do start comparing and that can be a complete thief of creativity. So good advice for sure. What's our next question?
I like this one. How do you deal with awkward people in front of the camera? And guess what? We're all awkward. Honestly, we are all awkward. So how do we deal with everybody?
Oh, you're looking to me? Okay.
Well, I could answer it too. But...
you go ahead and answer. I just talked for like 20 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, everybody is awkward. You have to get over and get past yourself and the idea that you're in front of the camera. And I think it's our job to make people do that. I
think this is coming from a shooter, like how to deal with awkward people. So if you're a shooter and you've got someone real awkward and you're like, what do I do?
Yes. What I'm saying is, what do we do? It is on you. What's funny, and maybe you could help me finish it then, but I'll say this. What's funny is that I'll come home from a shoot that we didn't do together. And we'll always, guys, we do talk about you behind your back. We'll come home and we'll say, oh, the shoot went so. It went really good. It was tough, stuff like that. But I'll come home and I'll be like, it was tough. They weren't natural. It felt awkward. But then we get to looking at the gallery and stuff, and
you'll never know. Yes. And one thing I always say, we both say this to each other as a compliment, is we'll come back from shoot like, oh my gosh, that was so much. And you'll think it will be bad. But because we've been doing it for so long, and because we have learned, and we'll give some tips on how to do it, how to handle awkward people, we knew it was really difficult, but nobody else would ever know that, because a lot of times, I'm just going to say, there's just going to be a lot of bad photos when a couple is awkward. And you are never going to let them know. You are going to think that you're going to make them think that they're doing a fabulous job. You're just going to keep shooting until finally you're going to see a movement, or you're going to put them in a position, or you're going to get them to forget the camera's there. And that's when you're going to capture them at their best. It was going to take a lot more work, and you have to have the eye for it. Just knowing people, positions, all that stuff's going to come with practice. But one of the biggest things is sometimes you have to completely put away everything you know to do with everybody else and kind of start from square one. That's going to work for that couple.
I was going to say that because there's not like an answer for every single larger person or shorter couple, like couples that have great gap in between their height and stuff. Even though there are those cases, every single person within that is different.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'll have the break in between shooting where I'll go through and I'll quickly scroll through my photos.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's where she feels most comfortable. That's where he looks the best. You know, so you have to be in the moment and on the fly. You do have to make some decisions.
And when in doubt, like movement, if you're like, oh my gosh, everything I'm taking is not working out right here. They look so awkward, look so forced. Have them walk, like just walk, sway some hands, do something that'll give you an opportunity to kind of give your brain like a break without them knowing that you're struggling. And then you can kind of, you know, go back to some of your tried and trues or something like that. Don't be afraid to like take a second, essentially to take photos you're not going to use to think of something else. Okay. Another thing is just slowing down. I know this is for me. I shoot extremely fast. And sometimes I just be like, okay, slow down. This is not a race. They're not eager to be completely done. Like you can take a breath, have a conversation, talk to your couple, and your brain can like catch up to your body. And then you can kind of start again. But it can be tough, and there's no like, here, do X, Y, and Z. But I think movement is a number one thing, building confidence in them. And then get a photo that you're like, oh, they look good. Show it to your couple. Yeah. Show it to your couple. Their confidence will skyrocket, and then their trust in you will be a million times better. And they'll stop like questioning everything you're doing because they're like, oh, wow, I looked good.
Very good. Next question. How do you go about photographing families with little kids? I feel like I'm terrible at it, but I also love family sessions. That's tough. Families and kids do go together.
How would Ryan answer that question?
Oh, photographing families with little kids.
I'll answer this.
I just start sweating. I do.
Ryan sweats profusely when he's in situations he's not super comfortable with. Actually, it brings up a funny story. He was years and years ago. This is before we had kids. He's way better with kids now that we have our own kids.
Wait a second. You way better with kids. I am wonderful with kids.
Photographing kids. So sorry. Let me be very clear with my words. He is fabulous with children. One of the many reasons I decided to marry him.
Oh my gosh.
But photographing kids he's better at since we have had children of our own. Anyhow, he was doing this work project. He needed some photos of a husband and wife with like kids, and it was like advertisement for like a parents' night out. So he went over to quite literally his best friend, like literally best friend since the womb. They had a child. He's like, oh, just go over and take. And the wife says to me after, she goes, something is wrong with Ryan. He is sweating profusely. He cannot stop sweating. And I was like, oh, he's just nervous and uncomfortable with little children in front of the camera. So I will answer this. I tell pretty much every family, like I just did a family session last night. And the first thing I said was, we're going to start really quick with everybody looking at the camera while the kids are happy, you know, kind of get those quote unquote must-have shots. And then we're going to photograph your family as you guys interact with each other. I think setting realistic expectations for families with little children is like a huge thing. And then also encouraging your families to embrace the stage of life that they're in like the beauty that is. Yeah, kids aren't going to look at the camera all the time. Everything's not going to be quote unquote picture perfect, but you will look back on those photos, even if your kid is crying and still love them. You are going to have sessions where they didn't go as you planned, or they're not as good as maybe their session was last year. There's always going to be that because you are dealing with little children and they're not predictable. Maybe they missed their nap, or maybe they're just having an off day. You know, that can happen. It's just part of life. So I think setting realistic expectations with the parents, but let's be honest here. We will bribe children to do as much as we possibly can. I always bring some toys. Like I encourage parents to bring snacks and a drink of water, anything. And then the other thing is you have to shoot fast. And I think this is what also influences my shooting very fast on a wedding day is that the haste and speed at which I shoot a family session is quite remarkable. You just always have to be ready. There's never a point when you're not putting your camera down because that kid could smile for half a second and if it might not happen again. So you have to be very, very fast and just have a really not carefree as in like you don't care, but like carefree attitude towards capturing that family.
Yeah. And don't give away your bribes too soon.
Yes.
Gotta hold them back.
Yeah. You can't like go to a family session like, I brought all these things for you guys if you behave. Like you got to get them through as much of the session as you possibly can before you start.
Yes.
The bribes for sure. What's our next question? What preset do you use?
All right.
This is my favorite question.
Yeah, so
ever.
I'll take care of it for you. I don't want people to feel your venom coming through the audio waves. We use our own. We use our own that has taken a long time to arrive to.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be lying if we said it wasn't with some influences from presets that we have purchased in the past. But over time, they became more and more our own changes, major changes made to arrive to where we are right now. And I'll say this, people ask that way too much because a preset it's just a preset. One of the qualities that we do have, and we've talked about in the last episodes, is that people do recognize our work. That's really awesome, but that is our work. It is our style, and you can develop your own either by purchasing another preset and sticking with it, or you can go through the process of trial and error, really, and ups and downs of getting to one on your own. But I wouldn't worry so much about everybody else's.
Yeah. I think when people, what like quote unquote frustrates me, or I don't know, it is that people often think, well, if I just had that preset, then X, Y, and Z. When the truth is there's so much more to photography and your editing and your final result than slapping a preset on something. We talked about this again before. We've touched on this quite a bit. I encourage everyone, stop worrying so much about what preset you think you want or you need to get a desired look or an outcome, and learn, just like we said earlier with the focusing question, learn your program. Yes, I have an original preset that I have created from scratch that I use. And guess what? That preset gets adjusted for every single photo. It is not a one size fits all. And as you learn that and learn your style and all of that, you're going to realize, okay, yeah, a preset, even the one I've created, is really just a starting point. Like you have to know how to get a desired look through the program. So if you're like so hung up on, oh, I want to get this particular look, you're just trying to like copy something you're already seeing that you like. So be original. And my best advice is learn the program and create your own look. Maybe as you're starting to learn things, yeah, there's nothing wrong. Like Ryan said, we started off by purchasing a pack of presets probably, 12 years ago, maybe. And then we learned how to do it on our own and create our own look and stuff. So it is a starting place, but it should not be your end result. You should have something original. I do
always wonder why people ask other photographers for their presets though, because everybody is trying to be their own. They should be trying to be their own person, their own style. Perhaps they're using a multitude of different presets and they're willy-nilly about using them and they don't care with sharing. But really, I would think, and I do think, because everybody that you look at is trying to have their own look. And so thinking that somebody's just going to be like, yeah, here you go. This is what I do. Please copy and do the same thing. It's kind of, it's weird. I just find it crazy that is probably the most common question that there is.
It is like a money-making thing for a lot of photographers. Like they will sell their presets.
But that's the thing.
Which I don't, again, but I don't get that.
That's part of an avenue of them making money. And there are a lot of people that they do well selling those things. And I think there's an art in making the presets. We're not in the business or the artistry of making presets, which I think is an art in itself. So they make it, they go ahead and turn that into a revenue. That's great. That's wonderful. But again, if you're, trying to develop your own thing and become somebody, I just don't see how somebody wants to pass that information along. Yeah. Or really, and I'm not saying like, oh, you shouldn't ask or want to see what somebody else uses. Just I don't know anybody that's going to be like, yeah, here's what the sole preset that I use. Please take
and
it.
I've heard other podcasters, I've heard other photographers and their attitude and approach is, well, you're feeling threatened then if you're not willing to blah, blah, blah. And I completely do not believe or buy into that at all. If someone's like, oh, I'm going to gatekeep all these things. No, they're like, it is a business and we're not just going to be like, here's all of our stuff that has made us successful, especially when you've put your own, blood, sweat and tears into it. And that doesn't mean that we're being stingy or that we're gatekeeping. That means that we've like trod a hard path and we have learned how to be original. And that's something that is special and very important to us. So we're not just going to be like, here's Joe Schmo down the street. I hope this works well for you. And then, so that's just our approach. I know there's a lot of people who are the complete opposite mindset. And I'm just not on board with that.
It's just funny. I'm sorry, but there's a local grocery store around here. If you saw the coffee that Christina is drinking, we are from upstate New York, home of the Buffalo Bills, and Rochester, home of Wegmans. So Wegmans does a phenomenal job of mimicking different cereal brands, like really, really good. They, in fact, if they can mimic any cereal brand out there, they will, and they'll sell it as their own brand with their own name.
Certain cereals.
So this is my point. I knew a vice president of Wegmans and he told me they cannot figure out Cheerios recipe, whatever it is. And Bush's Baked Beans used to have this commercial about not sharing the family recipe. But, it's why like Italian mothers don't share their sauce recipe.
This is a great analogy. I'm so happy for this right now.
Yes, I told you it was going to be a great episode. But Wegmans still does not put out any mimic Cheerio brand because they cannot come up with the perfection that Cheerios has come up with. Yeah. And good for Cheerios. Hold on to that. That is your thing that, you guys developed over, we say blood, sweat, and tears all the time and throw it around loosely, but that's a hard thing to mimic, obviously. And kudos to you. Keep that, hide that, lock it in the vault and share, your passion, some things that you want to teach and pass on, but some things hold dear to your heart.
Yeah, that's our recipe. It's staying in our box. Okay, last question. Do you hire out editing? If so, how did you find someone? If not, how do you keep up with the editing? How many sessions and weddings do you actually shoot?
There's no shame in hiring out.
There's no shame in hiring out, for sure.
Right off the bat.
However, we do not. So we did not find someone to do that. How do we keep up with editing? Well, right now, I feel like I'm kind of not. I mean, I am not beyond like deadlines, but in my mind deadlines, I'm a little bit behind this year. As mentioned in previous episodes, we took the month of July off. And having done that for the first time, I would have prepared better editing wise. I would have made sure that not only was like, I should have had everything we shot in June fully edited before walking away in July. So I'm playing catch up a little bit, which stresses me out. And what's the end of that question? How many sessions and weddings do you actually do? I think we have 40 something weddings this year.
I was talking to somebody the other day. We did 54 in my craziest year of my life.
Yes. Yeah. And sessions, I literally have no idea, but it's at least 100 something because we do
100 something what?
Sessions, not including weddings.
I'm talking about, 100 a year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
because for every wedding we do, we're doing an engagement session.
Yeah.
So if we're doing 50, 40, 50, you're okay, that's 40, 50 engagement session, plus all the family stuff, plus the newborn, plus
apart from winter and like good season here in Rochester,
we're shooting like every night for the most part. And, for studio sessions, those take place in the morning. So sometimes we're doing twice in a day. So it's a lot and it can be overwhelming. And yes, I do the editing. So this is not a very good answer, but it's okay to be vulnerable and say that I am a little bit stressed out right now. And I just said before we did this, I'm going to have to pull a late one tonight because that is where we are. And why this follow-up answer, probably why don't you hire somebody out? I'm too controlling and I don't want to relinquish control of that. And also
it's good for you to.
Nobody knows that, maybe it's not the most fabulous photo of grandma coming out on the dance floor, but I know that. And I know what was happening and I know what was happening, so to have that intimate knowledge of what was happening for each session, each wedding, I want to be able to do all that. And
and that's not going to work out for everyone because our philosophy in our business is just the two of us. People, and not wrongfully or rightfully so, people want to grow in other ways, as in like want to hire more shooters, want to hire more editors. and just grow a business, that is completely respectable. Ours is just, we've never desired to do that, to grow in that kind of way. It's I guess it's just too personal for us.
Yeah, we want to have an intimate knowledge of each session and things that we do from start to finish.
We just got our kids off the bus from the first day of school. And perhaps those two one day will join the family business.
Although Nadia, zero desire. She's like, nope, I ain't doing that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But maybe one day we would allow them. If I hired anybody, it would be like, because I personally enjoy the editing. I do. It gets like a lot. I do enjoy
part
it.
of the reason why you're able to stay afloat.
Yeah. I would hire somebody to do all of the emailing and all of that stuff, because that is where it does give me anxiety. Like literally, I have not done emails yet today, and I keep on just like pushing it because I'm like, ugh. So I would hire somebody to do all that stuff for me. Or maybe it could pushed on to the other guy here. So
it's going to happen soon.
Ryan's office is almost done, which, surprise, surprise, we will be doing our podcast from there. And that will be our permanent setup, which I'm very excited for, because guess what, guys? We have been recording our podcast since day one in our bedroom. And all of this stuff has been in my bedroom.
Should we pan?
Since the beginning of the year. Unmade bed, laundry, all the things. We don't need to show everyone because we still have more recording to do. So we will soon be in. Oh, brother. Guess what, guys? This is not going to go anywhere. He turned the camera and he showed you our messy bedroom. So yes, once that happens, we are hoping to actually do this on YouTube and have like the videos and all that stuff, upload the full thing instead of just the cuts on Instagram. So that is coming soon. I'm very excited about. And we actually do have a fun story.
Oh, we got
for you
a fun
today.
story.
Are you guys ready?
Go for it.
Okay.
Remember when?
Okay.
Oh, this is one of my favorites. I'm glad to tell this story or have the story told. Finally.
We have to do it quick because our camera battery is gone. This one has to do with me, myself, and I. And probably there have been maybe 2, possibly 3 points in our career on a wedding day when my stomach has fallen to where, and sweat is just an issue, which is never an issue for me. And I'm like literally in my mind thinking, how are we going to fix this sort of thing? And this is one of them.
Guys, it is such a relief to see Christina be human from time to time, because, I'm the guy with all the blunders and the goofs, and to see that she's human. Oh, I don't want to say I relish in it, but
he does. Don't lie.
I do enjoy it.
He does.
I always say it's a good thing that didn't happen to me. When it happens to you, I'm just
okay. So we're going to do the quick version. So at a wedding shooting, sweet couple, all the things. We are later in the day.
Sweetest.
This is a long time ago too. It was literally before we had Ronan. So we had not taken detail shots of the rings. So it's during the reception and we're like, oh, let's grab the rings really quick. And back then we did we don't really
macro shots.
Yeah, but anyhow, macro. And there's this old piano there and we're like, oh, let's put it on the keys. Again, this is dating this. We know these things are dated, but guys, it was a long time ago. We're going to put it on the piano keys, and this ring was very thin. And as I'm setting the rings up just flat, it literally goes floop in between the piano keys in the piano, like gone. And I was like,
adios.
I was like, instantly, everything within me was just like panic mode. Like my palms start sweating, all things.
And it's hilarious because I am the one that does things that I'm like,
risky.
I'll do something that I'm like, ooh, that was kind of living life on the edge. She did it, and I was just like,
never do stuff that are risky, never. And yeah, so everything, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So we try and get it out. We're working on it for a long time. It's not working.
We are MacGyvering it. Yeah, we've got toothpicks and
all
paper
the
clips, and
we're trying to lift the keys up. In my mind, I'm literally thinking, okay, how much is it going to cost to get somebody to come here and take a key off? Like how much money are we going to have to put on a credit card? Because it was back when we had no money. And so the coordinator was like, I think I might have a safety pin, but I forget what it was.
Yeah, they were helping us out. It was a group effort at this point.
So we're working for a long time, so long that I was like, we have to go tell the groom that this is what's happened. I don't want to tell the bride. She's going to freak. I don't want her to freak out, but we've had these rings for a long time now. We need to go. So I literally did the deed. I went and
told him.
You did?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I remember his face though.
Okay, So
I think we both did.
It was off of the ballroom where the piano, small room was where the piano was. So I go to tell him and I get to him and I said, "Could you walk with me?" We're walking back over and I'm telling him as we're walking, and literally as I walk in the room,
the coordinator pulls it out and goes, "I got it." And we're all like, "Never mind. Nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
Crisis averted."
But I had already told him. It was so funny. Oh my goodness.
That girl, oh my gosh.
He probably didn't tell her until after the honeymoon.
No,
he
did not tell her. He did not tell the bride until like later. He didn't tell her that day.
Guys, it was like 45 minutes gone.
Yeah. And he had a very good reaction. Obviously it helped that literally as Ryan's telling him, we're like, "Oh, never mind, But I did get an email.
Was like immediately, as I told him, he was like, "It's okay. We're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's not gone.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my, this guy is handling this very, very well. He's going to do well in marriage." And
so
then
he did. I did get an email like a couple weeks later, and she was like, "Oh, by the way, he told me and we all laughed about it." But let me tell you, it was no laughing matter when the ring was in the piano and we could not get it out to save our lives. And that is one of, what did I say, 2 or 3 times? When everything within me just died.
There's not
on a wedding day.
Not a lot of bad stories about Christina, but that is one funny one.
Ryan loves that one.
Oh,
Ryan
my
loves
gosh.
it. I think,
was just
like he
so
said,
good.
he was just relishing the fact that this was not him and it was me. So we hope you enjoyed that segment of Remember When. Like always, guys,
we thank you for listening. Please tune in again, subscribe, follow us.
Like, share, all the things. And most of all, please leave us a review so other people can find this podcast. And if you have any more questions, of course, you can always just shoot us an Instagram message. We'd be happy to answer those for you. But until next time. We hope today's episode was insightful. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review, as this helps others find us. If you have any questions or comments on topics you'd like to hear us unpack, please send those to podcast@crphotos.org. Lastly, don't forget to follow us on Instagram. We can be found at C_R_conversations, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a post.